Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Ajang. Thanks a lot, man, for joining us today. We want to talk about the topic for our discussion today is the concept of God. And I think as we were just talking about, I know that's I guess an area of interest for you, and this is also an interest of for me as well. And so we want to have a conversation today about the topic of God, both theological understanding, historical, and things of that nature. And then I have some questions and things that I want to pick your brain on as well. So if you just want to maybe just introduce yourself to those that will sort of end up watching this at some point.
Hello guys, hi, my name is Ajang. I'm from Sydney. I think I'd like to be I'm a common man myself. Not really much of a dime. I don't think myself to be a special person. I'm just double me, but I do have I feel in the past only going to 10 years I had a passion for history, especially that I was brought up in church, and I think that's where my kind of passion and curiosity to want to know more about how people and about the Bible as well and all of that stuff. So I think it plays a massive role into my understanding of today. So we'll definitely go more into it with what I've learned, and hopefully that you learn something too, and I'll learn the same thing too while sharing with Deng. I just want to say I appreciate Deng for giving this opportunity to come and speak to you guys, and also to him. There's a dialogue that I've been meaning to hopefully get, and other people out there that we can now start having this kind of conversation, especially as all the ones now that we have experienced, so much now being in diaspora in Australia or Canada, New Zealand and stuff. So we have, like I said, we have something to share. We have a story, a journey, we have knowledge to pass on to the next generation of guys, especially from our community, and how we can kind of better it as well. And we can't better it without really going to the very bottom of it, which is going back into our roots, which is also going back to history and going back to the whole thing of religion and spirituality. We have to start correcting for ourselves to get somewhere, and at least get a real big picture of what it really means. And for one to either also to find a purpose, you can't find a purpose without really knowing your roots. So I feel like that's the gateway to it. So
for sure, bro. Can I just ask you, do you want to maybe try? Can you check off the head, because it keeps cutting. Like if you leave for 1 minute, and then like it gets all rough and it becomes a bit hard to hear you. Do you want to try maybe without the headphones? See how that goes?
Yeah. Tinggal?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Awesome. All right. Well, before we get into it,
I'm trying to figure out why I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh shit.
I can't hear you. Trying to work this thing that Mrs. got for me. Well, it's any good. It's just so bad. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Or you might have to put back your headphones on then, man, if you can't hear me.
Yeah, now the headphones. It's only the headphones that I can hear you better.
All right. Okay. Okay, maybe like put the headphones back on, man. Yeah. And just maybe, I think it's maybe movement. So maybe try stay as still as you can when you talk. I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be. I'll just try and stay still. Yeah. Let's see how it goes. What about now? Is it wrapping up in? Is it still?
Yeah, I can hear you now. They're opening now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving. Yeah. So like always, just a quick disclaimer. Everyone, like when we do these sort of conversations with bros, again, the views that we share on here. So I share my personal views, and I'm sure Ajang will share his personal views. I'm not speaking on behalf of any organization or any religion or anything like that. It's just my personal views, and I guess the same would apply to Ajang as well. And we're not there's no particular school of thought or anything like that. We're not trying to persuade anyone to do anything. This is purely educational. Purely, what is this? What does Ajang think? What does Deng think? And in that way, we sort of learn and we get broader perspective on different things. So we're not trying to push any particular direction or belief on anyone. So just a quick disclaimer there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just share a little bit of a preso. So I'm going to share my screen, and the presentation is just going to be like just some words, definition of what some words mean before we get into the actual sort of discussion and the dialogue. Can you see that, Ajahn?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, can you see? Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
You can see it. Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So again, what we do, our topic today is the concept of God, conversation with the bros. So the definitions I want to sort of get right as well is when we said it, we talked about concepts, so the concept of God. And the word concept, what that means is an idea, a thought, or an idea. And these are just definitions from Google. So to take in or conceive or receive is one of the ways which you can describe what the word concept means. An idea conceived in the mind, and then later is to do with an idea like in the mind. So it can be an idea that either somebody else externally puts in your mind or an idea that you conceive internally. So that's what a concept generally the meaning of it. The other word I want to have a quick definition again from Google is the definition of God. So as you can see here in Christianity and other monotheistic religions, the creator and ruler of the, I don't know what, I just blocked it out there, but the source of all moral authority and the supreme being. That's how Google defines it. In certain other religions, it's a superhuman being or spirit worshipped as having power over nature or human fortunes, etc. I'm sure, Ajang, maybe you might have a different definition and things like that, but we can get into that later. The other one is religion. What does the word religion mean? So again, according to Google, is the belief in the worship of the superhuman controlling power, especially of God or gods, a particular system of faith and worship, a pursuit or interest followed with great devotion. Okay, so that's what Google says as it relates to the word religion. And then the other one is spirituality. So according to Google, is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul, as opposed to the physical things or physical things. Yeah. And then the other one is spiritual, mean relating to people's thoughts and beliefs rather than to their bodies and physical surroundings. Okay, so according to Google, that's what the word spirituality means. Okay. Now the other slide here is just a quick summary. So the Abrahamic or the monotheistic religion. So those are the religions that come out of the Bible, or those that claim Abraham as the origin or the father of their particular religion. And so when we talk about God, God is in the world that we live in is usually associated with these religions, right? So these are the major ones that we probably come across. You've got the Judaism, which is the central figure in Judaism is Moses. The book of scripture that they use is the Bible, but the Old Testament of the Bible. And then they also use what is called the Talmud, which is they reference that, and the Talmud is like their rabbis. They've come up with scholarship of their history, customs, and tradition, and they're put into a book. And so that's what they use. And then obviously Christianity is something we're more familiar with. The central figure is Jesus. Core beliefs are found in the Bible and both the Old Testament and the New Testament. And then the other sort of thing, I guess, religion that we come across is, Islam. And then, the core figure in the religion of Islam is Muhammad. And the book of scripture is the Quran, but they also reference what they call the Hadith, and also the Old and the New Testament of the Bible as well. These are, again, just very quick dot points on definitions of what the religions that I guess we're most familiar with, and then the other ones are probably the African spirituality and all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into all that. So cool. Does that all make sense, Ajang?
Yeah, really, you've done well, man. Just getting that brief presentation. It's also really make it clear for the audience going to have a review later on this, because at least you get that bit of understanding and a jump start onto what we're going to be talking about, and going into it step by step and differentiating what is what not with religion and spirituality. So it's important. So great job for that, man.
For sure. Awesome, man. So that's really it. Now we can I'll stop sharing. Stop sharing, and we can just get into our discussion. Again, bro, with I don't know what's happening with the sound, but if you can, it comes across much better when it's like when you talk slower, and when you're still.
Let me try again. Let me try again.
Yeah.
Try again.
Yeah. Huh? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. Awesome. I can hear you. You can hear me. Oh, okay. Like that's so much clearer, bro.
Huh?
That's really clear. That's so much clearer. I can hear you perfectly.
It's clear, but I'm not sure why it's very low.
Huh? Oh,
I'm not sure why it's very low.
Oh, is my sound really low?
Yeah. The mic's really low.
All right. Let's see if there's.
Can you check on your end? There's any?
Yeah. Maybe I'll take off the headphones as well.
But usually should be able to be loud enough.
Yeah, I'll just take these off. Can you hear me?
Like,
better?
Yeah, it's better now. It's so much better.
All right, awesome.
I think I know why. The volume out there was very low. So I think now it should be a lot clearer. I can hear you so much better now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The headphones
straight.
might have been okay, perfect, bro.
Yeah, must have been, yeah. But I think you know the volume sound on top over there. You know the volume, the sword next to the camera suite. Yeah, I had it on mute.
All right.
Yeah, so I didn't know until I look at it now. I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're good to go, man.
Okay. What I might do is, man, because I'm in the house, I might just put my headphones back on because I'm in the house.
Put your head back. No, it should be good. It should be good. Yeah, put your head headphone back in. Yeah. Should be fine. It was on my end. It was very low.
All right. Yeah.
So, plus, no one here, just me at home. So I'm okay to see him. Like just a dog. He's sleeping now.
Oh, good, bro. All right. Just to start, Ajang, in terms of the first sort of question, I guess to you, when we're talking about the concept of God, what is that to you? What is God to you? And how do you contextualize or picture, God in your mind? What's your understanding of that?
I think ideally, at first, I feel as though there's two different meaning of God. In the beginning, growing up, we all grew up at church. Most of us raised in a church. Our families were there every Saturday. So we get used to that. It becomes a culture norm that we are also very attached to the community, attached to being a strong faith believer, devoted Christians and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But now, as I got older to learn and study history and also study the religion itself, I feel now that I can differentiate between God, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one. There may be a few that see these, but that will to majority people that think that there's only one God, right?
Yeah.
But now my understanding now is that there's two God. There's man God, which is the one that people worship and give offerings to, right, on Sunday. And then there's a universal God that is within all things, whether animals, plants, us. There's that spiritual side of God, and then there's a man God that we have to, that's demanding for our love and for our attention, all of everything, right? So I see two perspectives on this. I get to draw those two. So for me to see that, I feel that's where the religion comes in with man God, and then there's a spiritual side of it that becomes the God, the creator of the whole universe, And I reference one of the most well-known today. That's not worship, but they mix it up. The brother Yeshua, Jesus, as they might most could call it, and I'm still studying him. But I've so far I have a full. I like to say that I have my head around his main philosophy and his purpose to why he was it, and so much clearer now when you sort of get your head around it and see that he was a prophet. He was not God, as much as Christians like to remind and tell everybody that Jesus is God, that God is Jesus. No. And that's where the part of me going a bit more into Islam and learning about Islam too, that that Christ was a prophet, and he was a prophet, and he made it very clear that he didn't come for the purpose of continuing the old systematic way of worship like Judaism did with Abraham and with Yahweh and Elohim and stuff. That he came to actually purely to save our souls. He didn't come for our physical bodies like we take it. So because of that, I can now say that I have an understanding of what God is. God is a man. Because we keep forgetting that we think God is a man. We give genders. Why should if a certain entity or deity have being subjected and say that he's a higher all, that we have to give in the old systematic Judaism or in the Old Testament where they were forced to give their firstborn male to honor Yahweh. You know what I mean? So that was wrong. And what didn't stop until Moses said, you know what, we're tired of this. Let's try something else. So that idea is where I'm kind of feel like it's a bit it does not add up, and you won't know until you really get into the words, until you really have to look things from and which I feel like I did of being on the Christian side of the thing, but also being more on Jesus actually, where I'm also research, and anyone can research these things. You can read your Bible, you can read your Quran yourself. They can also look into the history. What do history say about these men and women? What did they do differently? So that comes into play, and it does really help later on in life to shape your understanding of the universe and of the true God, which is universal. It's not a man or woman. So
for sure, bro, for sure. That's interesting, man. I think when you sort of said that the two, the concept of what you understand of being, man, God, and spiritual nature based type of God. I think for us, for many of us, we've attached God to specific institutions. So, Christianity, and they have a particular pattern of thought of what is God. There's, obviously you mentioned Islam. They have, and even within Islam, even within Christianity, there's different understandings, different sectors, they have different understanding of what is, sort of God, etc. But when you bring it down, and that those are all theological arguments and debates that they've been having since forever. But when you sort of bring it down and sort of say, to you, God, you understand it as to one that relates to man, and then there's one a nature-based type one. From what I understand, you sort of said, right?
Yes.
Now, I think as Black people or as Africans, you find that we're probably some of the most religious and devoted and religious type of people, but maybe not the most understanding. It's emotion, but not necessarily a lot of understanding behind it. And that's why I respect anyone that tries to study and get an understanding, dig deep, whether it's reading the Bible for yourself or the Quran, etc., or reading books, history, etc. So but in the religion traditions, so the Islam, Judaism, Christianity, our people, Black people historically, have had it fairly tough in it. You know what I mean? Our role in those specific organized religions, we've had it kind of tough, and it's a big factor now for a lot of us, like young people and things like that. A lot of people, it's like F religion, you know what I mean? Like we learn about the history, we learn about the cadence, etc. What I guess in your studies, what have you found any relationship between our people, Black people historically, and some of these religions or the texts that these religions base their theology on?
Yes, I surely did. That was one of my main. I was very, very curious in my younger years in high school, especially because remember when we go to year 7 here and year 8, they start off teaching us, if you go to Catholic school, you get taught about religion and whatnot. And the best part of it too, when they teach you, they don't just stick with Christianity, but also tell you about Islam. They also tell you about Judaism, Buddhism as well as indigenous spirituality. And what really opened my eyes into having a really something to really think about it was seeing how the indigenous people of Australia here, how they are such strong spiritual people of their concept of dream time, right? So their dream time is based on that they are spiritual beings experimenting this physical realm, right? And that when they're physically dead, they actually wake up in the spiritual world, you see. So there are those two lives there. And I was there in the classroom sitting down and I said, wait a minute, how is it that these people that look like us do not worship or make sacrifices to an animal or to their child, like we were told in our traditions or by the Bible, right? That really got me thinking, right? And what really started my curiosity back about now over 10 years, right? And it really opened my eyes to be like to think and have a real reflection on Christianity as a whole, especially where majority of us are Christians. Look, how does it make sense? How come these group of Black people, they've been here over 60,000 years, and they have not done what we have done? You know what I mean? They're so happy living their own way of life, that you don't kill something unless you really need it. You don't go hunting unless you're hungry, right? So I sat there in class and he's like, wow, this is like that's something that's heavy, you know what I mean? And it's just like when there's something that just hits you at that particular moment, you're like, damn, yeah, you're like, So for me, that was the case, and what really started my mind to really wonder and want to know more about history and religion itself. So what that did now, it allowed me to be more open-minded, to go out and research. I was still able to go to church. We had youth group. We had the boys youth group that we did on Monday and Tuesday, Bible studies, and then we had the youth program that we had on Friday night, and then we had the choir, the Dinga choir on Saturday, and I had the normal church on Sunday. You see, so I was there, deep into it,
Yeah.
But remember that I heard that when I was learning about that bit of time, I began to question everything. My perspective on it is like, whoa, I want to know why. Why is it these guys, these people of this country have a different way of life? They don't worship no snakes, no animal, no plants, no trees, nothing. I'm sacrifice to anybody. So I was on the fire. So luckily that journey began. It took me a while running through the like of Illuminati politics as it is. But I finally got a hold into this book. But before I got to the book, I remember I was doing at the time something, just a side hustle was acting. So I was used to do acting as well, stage production. So we do plays and stuff within city council areas. So I do that, and a lot of the stories that we're doing, we're sharing our stories. Africans have coming to this world now, to the Western world. But there's one that we did called it's called, I don't know, my name is, this is called Slave, right? And when we were doing this thing called Slave, it was about the Africans being taken out to Americas, to North America, right? So as I'm now exposed to that side of history and what happened to these West Africans being taken forcibly to Americas. I got my kind of window of understanding and seeing things that change. Like, so this happened, right? And then I'm thinking at the same time, like, man, they're going through that for what, 400 years of them being persecuted, murdered, treated like crap, and yet they're all the most devoted faith believers. And where is God to help them? To this very day, they're still in that prison that we exist in. If there was a God, why is God not there? Why is God not trying to help them? Especially us. We are the most hated people on the face of the planet, and yet we are also the most envious one, where everybody wants to be us. You know what I mean? Somehow we flip. We just change. We didn't change it, but it's like it's a tale being completely turned, that we now are being degraded. We're not respected by anyone. So I had to get into the histories and just keep learning. So I started with modern history of bits and pieces of African countries, and colonization was one of them. How the European came and came over us, treated us like garbage, want to take the stake and resources and then leave us as dead. But then later on, I kind of found myself reading about ancient Egypt, like, oh, this is really interesting. So I did, and then changed over again. But to cut it short, I finally got to the most interesting part ever. There was this book called They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sanema. I'll never forget it.
The what? Ivan. Yep. What's the title?
Yeah, I was looking for it before. It's called The African Presence. They came before Columbus.
Yeah. That one.
Yes. By Ivan Van Sanema. You probably mentioned this because John Henry Clark talked about it. Runiko Rashidi also talks about it, and he has a book too on African presence in Asia. Runiko Rashidi. Lucky, I actually met him. I met him maybe 6 years ago when he came.
You met him? Oh, that's dope. That guy's a legend, man. I was so sad when the guy passed, man.
Yeah, I didn't. I had one of my history buddy that actually that went and messaged me and said, "Hey, you heard about this?" I said, "Oh, no, I haven't." Shit, So it took us all by surprise. I respect him for what he does, but I think by the time that he came and the question that I had for him, we kind of we're not on the same page, unfortunately. Because what I didn't like is that out of all the things that he was there, you travel all the way here to Australia, and you just giving us a presentation of these were Africans in change. This is Africans in change, or this is how Egypt was. All these things I can go find on Google. Tell me something else. You know what I mean? So that's that. I'll leave that. That's the Rudico. But I go back to my thing. So when I got into reading about African presence, They Came for Columbus by Ivan Selma, I got to see more about the indigenous people of Central from North America, called the Kali people. And how Kali people. I'm not sure if you came across the book, but it's really good, man. You got a lot. And when I started reading it, it was very fascinating for me to realize, wow, like there were brown people, black and brown people that were in America before Columbus, So that now opened more of my more went to Americas because like, wait, so there's black people in Americas that look like modern day black people, black and brown people. What did that say about the people itself? You know what I mean? Because if you go to the Central Americas, like Honduras and Costa Rica and Guatemala, you're gonna see the same, right? So continue on reading more, and I finally got to learn, got to part of Columbus and his journey, and he would say it and he talk about it. He actually got his his letters they written and were edited by Washington Irving, and he made something that's very interesting remark. And Washington Irving saying how Columbus was so determined and telling everybody how much he wants. He can't wait to get to, can't wait to go and recapture Jerusalem. And I was like, what? Why is it Jerusalem? I thought Jerusalem was this way, in Asia. You see, so I got to that part. I had to hold for a bit because I feel like that's just too much. I think it's gonna require more of my study time, dedication, to kind of shift from the history of the past 200-300 years to the history of whole of now. So then that I left there for a bit. I went and read another book, and then I asked the wrong question: any other West African knew any history about them going to America before that? And then luckily I ended up finding it. They did, and they had a guy named Abubakar Keita II, and that he sent, because Columbus also meant Abner Selma also mentioned that part two. I'm like, oh, this actually confirms it. Abner Selma said of how the Africans, the Olmecs and stuff, were Africans, but and then he also mentioned he learned it from another guy, Leo Winer's another book really good on Africans. He told that about how the African got to Americas in early 1300s before Columbus came. And Abubakar, he was the king at the time. So you might not know Abubakar, but you probably know Mansa Musa. Right? So Mansa Musa exceeded him after that. He didn't get back. Mansa Musa became the king. And instantly when so before he joined the voyage to Americas, he first sent 200 ships to go and to the other side of the other landmass of that's on the opposite end of America, Central America and South America, and no one will go back to him. So what he did, or he ordered another roughly, they said it's about 2,000 ships. Imagine 2,000 ships leaving the west coast of Africa to go to the New World, or to go to South America and Central America. Like imagine that 2,000 ships flat out of dead black people, right? This was 1300, so the voyage was say between 1306 to 1312, 1311 there, right? And then they went, right? They went there. But the people back in Africa now have not documented of them, what they done there. But they had started writing the histories when they got to America in 1300s, right? So I go back into it and look in Mali in 1312, when he was gone, Mansa Musa became the king. And some of the people that went to Americas and returned back to Mali, they brought out all the resources, all the natural resources they found, the gold, diamond, drugs, you name it. They brought it back. And now Mansa Musa become the most wealthy person ever in the world. And what he did with it, what he did with his wealth is he decided to go on his own trip. Instead of him going to America is like what Abubakar did, he goes to Asia, to Middle East, to North Africa. He wanted to go and discover something for himself too, but ended up being a waste. So that part was so strong for me, and I always tell people, because it's such a stunning history about how people and how we will see navigators. Because when you understand what happened, when those 2,000 ships, we get to the history now, we get to the Aztecs, because the Aztecs, according to Leo Weiner and there was another guy, what's his name? Fernandino Sahagún. He came in after what's his name? After the Spaniards. I'm not sure how much American history you know, but Bernardino Sahagún came in after the Spaniards destroyed the Aztec capital, right? But before I get to the Aztec capital, I'll go back to the beginning again. Sorry to keep changing,
No,
but I had to
no,
give
good, bro.
that for just I want to see if you know a bit of
I,
it.
I,
So
I know in general. I don't know the depth in terms of specific sort of things, but I do know the general sort of history. Bits and pieces of the general topic. But for example, the Spanish and how they conquered that part of Central America, etc. So but just to again
I'll recap it quickly before that, just so you can get an understanding, because you know a bit of it, but just to give you more clarity, right? So with those 2,000 ships that have arrived, that got to Central America and South America, this time they filled with Africans. You can already imagine there's 2,000 ships. You can already definitely there's 1,000 people that are in that. You know what I mean? So now these 1,000 people, they find themselves, and they detail this in when Benito Saku said that when they came in, from what he was talking, they came in and start sticking behind himself, that they found themselves. There were the millions of people already there, right? That's what they said too. There's all the other millions of other indigenous people that were living on the land. But when they were there, they were only people because they're foreigners. They're just foreigners there. So they start, obviously with war, you win land and territory. So they start working together. And once they're able to defeat more, then they can just have alliance with another tribe that's already there. So they start making alliance with the tribe. And then by 1325, they already became the most biggest military in Central Americas by 1312. Mind you, they only just been there, 10 years, right? So they went there in 1312 and 1311. And look at it, almost 15 years, nearly 10, 15 years later, they're there. They are now the most powerful. Now they are now known as Aztec. They became the Aztec Empire. And they talk about this a lot, but I just feel like it's being discredited because it means now that the narrative is still being pushed that the Africans were taken there as slaves, but they were not there. If you look at Central America, especially of where Guatemala is and where Honduras, where Costa Rica is, they said that they've always been in Americas. They were not taken there as slaves. They was been there, But the fact that, we all know that what happened to when you are the defeated army, you don't get the credit anymore to write the history of your victory because you are defeated. But when the Spaniards won that war and they took over Mexico, they now write the history, And obviously, when they lost that war in 1520s, when the Spaniards came in, then whoever did not escape or leave the land, obviously were put in chains, and now you become a prisoner of war.
For sure.
So it's a lot, and I'll cut it there. I just wanted to give you a bit of that.
For sure. But it's interesting, man. And when you talk about this history stuff, man, we can be here for days, hours, man. There's a lot. There's just two things I want to say about that, everything you just sort of said. The first thing I want to say is that the continent of Africa before was called Africa. So Africa is named after an Italian explorer, Africom or something like that. So some European sort of discovered the continent and named it, and that's why we call it Africa, right? But there's a whole history prior to that interaction with so-called with that explorer. There's a whole history, and every day, historians, theologians, those people doing research are just finding out more things, deeper things, etc., right? So that's one thing, right? The other thing is that, in the science of biology, in the science of anthropology, and things like that, everywhere that they've gone on the planet, right? Even in Europe, the original people, when they dig up all the bones and things of that nature, the people that were there were people of color. Not people, were black people, okay? Were Africanoid features, they call them, okay? So everywhere that when we know that from, Europeans came out of Europe, right? And everywhere they went, they discovered, but they found dark-skinned people pretty much everywhere they went, okay? And so when you say the Central America and things like that be inhabited before you know, the Spaniards gone there, or even the Africans that you mentioned, even before they were there were people that you could call Africans that were there on that continent of South America, you know, prior to any of that. You know, and there's a lot of history that around that. So that's what I wanted to sort of say about that. Now, what going back to, you know, like, you know, the Bible and things like that, which is where most of our people get our understanding of spirituality and God from. You know, in the mainstream, when we read the Bible and things like that, we can't see ourselves in it. In most circumstances, right? Like, we read it, but we think it's talking about some other people and things of that nature. But we know with people that, you know, what I've noticed is the theologians, or the people that like study and write about religion and Bible and things like that, their understanding of it is so different to what we hear at church. And so you know, we can't relate to stories of David, or some of us can't relate to the stories of David, of, you know, the Old Testament, things like that, because we think it's just talking about some white people somewhere, right? But in actual fact, you know, there's an argument that could be made that, you know, parts of the Bible is really like a Black history book, in that, you know, those people that we're reading about, you know, King David and all that kind of stuff, that these are people that we can relate to, you know, and that we can, etc. So, what are your thoughts on that?
But first, I'll go back into what your input before about the Italian man that claimed that, you know, that he's the origin of the African continent. And again, from my own study, which is funny how someone can claim that he's the one that gave us the name when we were already existing, you know.
Exactly.
Our whole history, we've been here for thousands of years. Somebody comes up and think that he can get. Really, what it was more of him trying to take the name of it. And as well, the original name, even if it's in the Bible, you can see it. It's called Oper. You could have find Oper. Oper was mostly from which side? Oper was the original name of it, but Oper was more on the coastal side, where on the southeast of Africa, that's where it was. And then you had the Ethiopia being more of the West Africa to Central Africa was known as Ethiopia. Because remember, in those days, we didn't go as nations or as a continent, because we already had that understanding, like you said, that we covered the whole world. Like, and a lot of our people today are still stuck in the mindset that the whole world is still just Black people, Black and brown people. We haven't understood that we got other people now that don't like us. You know, we got newbies now that claiming so much, but yet we know that the narratives are of our own, right? So when they tell man, he's just taking a little bit of piece just to give himself credit to be known, when really we're already there, you know. And regarding the part where you mentioned about how being across, you are right. There's no place that not white man, but more Caucasian man has gone to and not found Black and brown people, and they know this, especially Europe history, man. The Black history, the Black European history is fascinating, bro. I'll tell you that, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I've been trying to get into it too, to study it, but it's so much information. I just wish there's another youngster out there that's passionate about history, want to know and learn, because man, we need someone to cover that part of history. Just like, remember the like of scholars and historians of John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sanema, what's his name? Benjamin Johansen? Is it?
Yeah.
Johan, the Black Jewish guy. Checker Diop type. You see, these guys they got themselves back in the 50s, and they start giving each other, okay, you're gonna come this, you're gonna come this. I feel like we need that too, where a few of us, you know, because there's so much information out there. There's so much that we can study, and there's enough information for everyone to study the feeling. You know, you said, the lack of the Bible. So someone can cover the side of David history. Someone cover the side of Samson. Someone cover the side of Adam. You know, there's so much information out there someone can also clarify that. But one thing I'll also mention regarding obviously us being the best sea navigators across the world before anybody else, and we make the best ships and whatever. As much they might lie when you watch the Bible, you know, and they make it seem like, oh, this great white man, you know, we did this. When isn't fun, we watch a movie and those I want to know about it. We had to get to a certain place. There was one that said, oh, go somewhere where there's an Italian man, or go where somewhere near the water, you can find someone that can help you to navigate to go to these areas. You know what I mean? It's always that or more. Or more. And while on speaking of Moors, they have a hell of a history too, man. And you probably heard of them too, the Black Moors.
Yeah.
But what's not told to us, public key, was that the Moors were actually Black African Muslim. They were not Arab. Remember, let's keep this. The Arabs we see today are not original Arabs. You know, just how you even see people in Australia. You know, they are newbies. They're newbies. So when you know back in the 700 AD, sorry, so I'll finish it. In the 700 AD, when these Black Muslims first went, about I think nearly 60 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, they had gone out. They wanted to spread the new word to the people around the world. You know, and to do that, they knew that to get out of the continent. They already spread it in West Africa. Now they're going to spread it to North Africa, East Africa, and then go to the rest of the world like they did, right? Because remember, they had enough of the mixing and the complicated story histories, what they did, how they really twisted Christ's message, you know. So when these Europeans have twisted the histories and stories of the true people, the true Hebrews, you know, God's chosen people, right? They wanted like their own. That's why when Prophet Muhammad came, that he was saying that there's only one God, one and one love, because the Europeans have mixed people's brain up. You know, they keep saying that Jesus is God, God is Jesus, all that stuff. So confuse the people. And then you have others who are following different gods as well. But he wanted to be involved under one emblem, you know, and to go back to the real God, the one that Moses was worshiping, right?
Yeah.
So when these black people, our people from our continent left Africa in 700, early 700s, you know, and went to Europe, Southern Europe and all that part of Europe, man, they came in there strong because, interestingly, right, their whole power for 800 years, they were finally defeated in 1492, right? 1492. That's magic, 1492. Why is 1492 magic? Because now, what year did Columbus go went first sail to Americas? 1492.
Was it 1492? Okay. I thought it was 1555 or 1455. I don't know. Yeah, okay.
Nah, 1492, right? So you had these Black Muslims that were running the show with a strong monarchy and nobility from 700 AD to 1492, bro. That's just imagine that. So when, you know, and I'm sure you when you see all these white people in soccer games and Euro Champions League, and you see the players, how much they hate us, I realize why they hate us. It's not that they don't know us. It's what the Black Muslims and the Black Christians have done in Europe to them, that they can't stand us because we were the one running the show there. You know what I mean? And it was so, it's unbelievable just to know that and to learn that. It gives you such a lift from that, you know, end of the day, we are the one that everyone disrespects, but now you can put some respect on our name because we told you guys a lot. We are the reason why you guys were out of the cages. You guys were out of, you know, being there in the bushes and mountains.
Yeah.
You know. So, but the Black Muslim history is very, very fascinating, man. If you get a chance,
the more,
let me know. I can sing some links. I can sing some links.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man, and so like again, bro, like I feel like you know, talking about, you know, the concept of God and things like that. One of the big handicaps that we have, you know, and where historically, you know, as you can historically, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam, there has been racism has, in terms of the organized religion, racism has, I guess, infected it, the thinking. I don't know if you heard about the curse of Ham and how, they all sort of, et cetera, and the treatment. But even of that, like, I feel like fast forward to today and where we are, we have a handicap because we can't see our relationship to God. Because we can't see our relationship to God, or have a concept of ourselves, in relation to God or to anything sort of supreme. I feel like, I guess there's psychological damage, and there's a low self-esteem attached to that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I see this at church. I see this everywhere. Like, where I guess there's a certain disrespect of Black. And not only that, we internalize that, and it makes us feel a type of way about ourselves. But in actual fact, like everything you sort of said, if you read the Bible or you read the Quran or you read that, like the pioneering people that are involved in it, whether it's the early Arabs, whether, people in that part of the world, is most likely to be Black people. It's most likely, things like that. And we have, I feel like we don't quite see that so well. And so that's why, I guess this kind of exists. And so my question out of all that to you is, the history is cool. We can talk about the history all day long and things of that nature. But how do we use the concept of God to actually help ourselves today? Like, how do we use an understanding, of God to help ourselves? You know what I mean? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It's quite interesting, man, that we as well, we are the only people that don't also see the importance of history, right? And we see the importance of history because look around at everything that we do today, everything that man seemed to create, it's all based on history. It's all based on what happened in the past, what they know from the past, right? And history is so important to the point to why it's taught in all schools, it's taught in all subjects, in all grades. You see, so they know the importance of it, but we have not known the importance of it. Because if we knew the importance of it, we will remind ourselves, and we will know, and we'll be able to the minor kind of conflicts and disagreement we might have with our siblings, or let's say the tribesmen, like the Dinka and the Nuer tribe, for example, and we've seen that we should be able to put our differences aside and deal with the bigger issues, deal with the bigger problem at hand. Because everybody else does this, the Europeans every time. We know that. They look in World War II, Russia, England, America, right? Who's another powerhouse? France. They're all on one side, right? They're all on one side. And after the war finished, what happened? They're having their own disputes again. Their own problems again now. You see? But they had share one thing then, that they do not like the Jews. Not Jews, so they don't like the German. So German had to fight for themselves. They have Greek. They have so much Greek like we do. So until we go and study them, because we don't do that well, we don't study them. Because we study them, we know who they are and their direction, where they want to go in the future. They want to go to space. What for? Everything's there already, but they want to bother going to space. You know what I mean? So to what I feel like Black children especially, if we follow on and learn the proper histories, it makes it so easy for them. It will be like us giving them a template, that the samples are already there. You have to follow the template there. We give it to you. You just have to follow. And you won't be feeling that the world does not like you, or that you're feeling disrespected, or our workplace, and you see how everyone done expect you to work harder while yet people here that are just sleeping or hanging around and just doing nothing. right? Because we allow that to happen. We allow to be ourselves to be devalued and not have respect for ourselves because we have forgotten who we are, right? We've forgotten how to show love to one another. What would be the first word to put each other down, not lift each other up? But if we now know that the first people to go to Europe and civilize Europe were Black Muslims from Africa, if we now know that the first people to start this whole thing, systematic of writing, were Black Egyptians, our people, right? If we guys know that Adam, the beginning of all this, was a Black man, how difficult that's going to be to a child growing? So these were housed, and of course, yes, because when you read the Bible, it doesn't make sense that these were other people, that the people that are not African or non-Black and brown people. It just don't make sense at all. We are the ones that still have tribes. We are the ones that still have all these customs.
Yeah.
They don't have no custom. They have no tribes.
Yeah.
They have nation, right? And their nation are not that big because look at English and the language of English and French, very much alike. And then you look at French and German, very much alike. You see, that would just be like us right now. The Neolithics, for example, Chulu, Maasai, Dinka, Acholi, Nuer. You see, we are one of the same family, right? Our languages are very much alike, but yeah, we could speak a common language, right? So we should be able to work together. The first one to work together because they see us, they know what they have to do, come together. We don't see ourselves and see the vision that we have to come together because right now we are living in I was telling you, we are living the best times ever and also the most challenging times are the same because we have such opportunity now to have this kind of conversation. We'll be able to bring people in and engage in this dialogue and continue further, to start talking about how we can grow. What's our vision for the next 10, 20 years? Because they've got plans for us, but we don't have plans for ourselves. What must we do? And they know too. And we go back to religion, right? As much as we like to pray and all that stuff, right? Look at China right now. Is it God that's leading the way, or is it the businessman? Look at Singapore, who's leading the way? Look at Russia. Look at India, who's leading the way? And we're busy concerning about that we don't do things for God. Yes, I understand that we are spiritual beings, yes. But when it comes to survival now, we are at war with everybody else. It's us versus all of them. Because they promise and what they want is to make to the way extinct. We are the only continent left that belong to the indigenous people. We are the only continent that's left. What happened when they keep buying all our lands? We're going to be extinct like the animals that we've seen back home. And we're going to be sitting there like, that's not what happening anymore. Huh?
Yeah,
because now a Chinese man, the Chinese man at the Benin, what a panic go. I just because we have not come together. We have to let Bagan like background. We should be able to let Bagan be like what Rwanda did. When Rwanda, after it took years, but Rwanda is rebuilt, right? Rwanda had this, I remember what they did is anyone that had their disputes back in 94 or still having family issues, they all came together, talk it out in front of everybody, and apologize to each other. And let's move forward from now on. We're going to move forward. No more beef, no more worrying that you are Tutsi or Utsi, none of that crap. But we are the only ones still stuck in the head like, but really, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So, yes, I love our people, of course, and we love, I know that the hardest part is the fact that we are such spiritual people and we are so used to, we're like a group of ants, right? And you know how the group of ants work, right? They don't do things separately. They work together as a unit. We're not going hunting all together. We're like that as people. I feel that sometimes. We work as a unit. We don't do things. We're not individuals. We are a pack. We are what they call wolf pack. We're the real pack. Because once we all take that step, then yes, we'll progress. But no one steps out and be like, I want to say, no, look,
That's not our way of life, right? So the thing is, what our advice will now is we need to get to know these people. They brought us the Quran, they brought us the Bible and stuff in the Torah, right? We need to study them properly so that we can make some errors. If it works and you can apply it in your real life, no worries, follow it. But if it does not make sense, okay, go further, have a dig, see, try to make sense out of it. If you can't make sense of it, then live it for a while. You know what I mean? But we have to start researching.
For sure.
Especially us in diaspora, in the Western world, we have such a great opportunity, man. Any of us can do anything we want. We can research so much, we can do so much. But yet, we got brothers that want to do the same thing. They want to trap. They want to hang out all day and night. They don't want to take control and beat their own life. You know, and that's nothing.
For sure.
You know?
So and like this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, man, because like and named it like the concept of God. And I'll tell you what my understanding of that in a minute as we wrap up. There's just two more questions I want to get your thoughts on. But you know, one of the things that that's a big handicap is our understanding of, you know, like the world and reality, you know, like like from what I've observed, and you know, like you said, you know, other people brought and interpreted what Islam meant for us or what Christianity means for us and things like that, and imposed their idea. And you know, and we sorry.
Yeah, and ideologies onto us.
Yeah, and then and so like we can and then because that's that way, we've got, I feel like we have the wrong concept. A lot of us, or from what I observe, and because we have the wrong concept, and then we don't understand the world or that we're in and interact with it. You know, like you said, China, you know, they build and things like that, and all these other countries seem to be productive, but we're not. We've got, you know, idea where we want to wait for somebody to come and do something for us, or, you know, things like that. And part of the root of that, I think part of it, man, is our understanding of what God is and things like that. And so for me, for example, you know, God is as personal as you and me. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel to an extent that I'm a God. Do you understand? And to an extent that you're a God. Do you know what I mean? And we have different expressions. But I'm fully confident in myself that I don't have to wait for nobody else to sort of, you know, do that. I have the same ability to be able to come up with a concept, an idea in my head and do it. Just like, you know, that's the attribute that, you know, that we read about, that, you know, God has and things like that in these scriptures. And I feel like, you know, as we know, when we study colonialism and things like that, Christianity was used in a way as psychological enslavement. Do you know what I mean? You know, teaching you that you're going to go to hell, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, at the root of it, getting a better understanding and personalizing God, I think, helps put the responsibility on your shoulder for your life. You understand? Like that, it's not, you know, our lives is not on somebody else to sort of, you know, direct and things of that nature. You and us are, you know, like, have that power sort of thing. So that's really my understanding, and I can find justification for that in Bible, in Quran. Do you know what I mean? I can, you know, I can exactly, you know, for that concept of that ideology, and etc. So, two things for you, bro. A lot of things were asked quite a bit is Jesus, and there's the whole, you know, is Jesus white? Is Jesus black? What's the significance of this, you know, fella Jesus? And things like that. That's a question that always sort of comes up with, I guess, the youngins that I deal with. What's your thoughts? What's the figure? And then I have one more question after that, and then I'll let you go, bro.
I'll just go back into what you were talking about, the role Christianity played, and I feel like it has done so much mental damage that we don't think that it does, because, and I told some pastors in senior, I told them that the issue is, and my poor tendency, for example, it's, if you guys were teaching more to consider mind as that, instead of you yourself as a person, focus more on your life and deal with your problem, than for it to say, don't resolve your issue, or
Pray about it.
leave to God. And I feel like we're so used to that if you keep repeating that for 100 years, 200 years, that instead of you resolve your own issue, you fix it. Well, that's not emphasized enough, and it needs to be emphasized enough that we must take our responsibility, because I understand there's parts that one person, more of, especially when you go to church, a lot of it is your own fault. It's your own responsibility. You can be accountable for, right? But if the pastor or the minister reinforced and said, you know what, you need to do this thing. It's for you, it's for the own benefit of you and your life to go forward, right? Take your responsibility. Obviously, if you're at a point where it's not in your control, that you cannot do it or fix it yourself, then you may now bring in the other entity, the higher being, right? But it has to start with that, taking our own accountability for our responsibilities, which we're not doing at all. We're not doing it. That's where it starts with. To go on about Christ and his ethnicity and whatnot. Growing up, we got fed that too. I went to one of my auntie's house before, and I see the image of Caesar Borgia, which is the image that was used, obviously we know, by the Constantine push to make the beloved Black Messiah be reimaged. Get this right. I'm not. If you ever come across, look at Black. What's the name? No. Christ Redeemer in the Philippines, right? You go to the Philippines, and they said, we got a lot of Filipinos in Sydney, and I had one friend that we're talking about history, and it's like, what's weird was that when the Portuguese and Spanish had gone to the Philippines, they brought the brown Jesus to them, the brown Christ, they call it Christos, and the Negro Christo. And I was like, what? They gave you guys the brown Jesus, but they came to us and gave us a white man named Caesar Borgia? No way. So if they had done this back in the 1500s and 1600s, right? What does that show? What do they know? They know who Christ was. He was a Black man, right? But the whole push to make us, again, it goes back into devalue. We can't see ourselves as our own saviors, because now we see them as the one to fix our issues. When really, right now, we can see what's going on, right? We'll see this. The same people that on the TV screens are the ones so-called saving the world, are the same one that are damaging this world. And we're talking about climate change. And we're talking about God, and tell them, come to lie to us that a white man will come and save us and get out of their own misery that they put us in. Really? Yeah, Black people in America, 500 years that they've been there, treated like hell, apparently. And yet, you think they're going to be there, So we have to understand that and to see around us. It does not work. And I've yet to see a white magician, like I know a white magician, white magician or a white savior that willing to die and put their body on for a Black man or for a Black woman or a child. No way, we'll never see that.
Look, and to not make it a racial bias, because we're Black, we want to obviously romanticize that this guy, and on the other side, because they're white, they want to. But in the actual Bible, in the actual scripture, there's plenty evidence there. If we do the study ourselves, there's plenty evidence there to show that we're not dealing with like
what
a Caucasian person. A Caucasian person.
Read I believe is verse 14 and description of him, right? But also, like you said, there's so much reference that it does not fit the narrative. He was a white man too, right? So the things that he was doing, the humanity that he had in him, you know, it just did not add up for it to be a white. And also that too, when you know the history of Solomon, right, and how he described himself in Psalm that he was black and call me and you know and stuff.
They hate me because I'm
Solomon
black.
is a black
Come ye
man.
all daughters of
Yes, that's right. You see, so if Solomon is here describing how black he is and you know how wonderful his skin is, right? And Christ told us that he was descended from David, right? And Solomon. So if Christ, if Solomon is a black man and David is a black man, what does that make Christ? You know? So
and you know and Mary, his mom, was half Egyptian. And Egyptian people at that time, believe me, there was black in you and me. You know, and things like that. So but again, that goes to show the evidence that the Jesus Christ figure has been used as a way to, as a psychological tool on the part of, you know, and things like that. And this is what a lot of these young people are understanding and things like that. And then what happens is like that what happens is we drop, like we find out bits and pieces like that, and we just throw everything away. Whereas like I think the wiser thing to do is like there's actually a lot of wisdom in the Bible. There's actually a lot of wisdom in the Quran. There's actually a lot of wisdom in that whole history that we can benefit from today, you know. And the benefit is like it benefits our behavior, it benefits our routines, it benefits our understanding of the world, and then the thoughts that we have, you know, the vision that we have for ourselves and things of that nature. It benefits because we have, you know, we learn and we have a better understanding of where we've come from, sort of thing. So, cool. The last thing, bro, is we know African spirituality is one of the things. You know, you've got various tribes, you know, Dinka, Nyali, Den, you know, and even various people have their own. You know, the Zulu have Nagogulu, you know, you got, you know, the Igbo and the Yoruba, they have their own sort of concept of understanding and things like that. And it's actually very, like really, really interesting. And it's, and you know what, it's not so, I guess back in the days, it used to be classified as by, you know, white missionaries and things like that as backwards or you know, backwards thinking or, you know, savagery belief system, etc. But when we go back and we actually read what they say and things like that, you know, it has a lot of similarities to what we find in the Quran and what we find in the Bible and things like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's so disrespected, and I feel like by us, we disrespect our own, you know, like and we don't give it enough respect, enough study, deep enough study to, you know, get out the, you know, the lessons. I believe, like, why do you think we disrespect our own, you know, African spiritual understanding?
Well, we had these people that come to our shows and having the audacity to tell us that the new religion that they're coming with, called Christianity, is better than what we're doing. Right? That we had this white man, blue eyes, is come to save your soul. You know, it's not coming like how your ancestors used to do with all that worshiping and sacrifices. You know, this one is actually real, and you're able to going to go to heaven. If you don't choose to go to the path of heaven, you're going to go burn in hell. So it creates that fear that if you don't choose this side and join the religion, then you're going to go in hell and you're going to burn. What? Which is with irony. Because if we know that the physical body stays in, how does the spirit burn? You know? So they play that game on us, the fear factor, you know. And the thing I love most about our cultures and studying it as well, you see it, and I found with a lot of African tribes, with the African major tribes, is that we share something that's so common: our traditions, our stories. That we worship these animal-like deities and humans share the same, right? And when I go into the histories of Egypt, I go find one and the same, and be able to connect it that these were house stories, the same as the Old Testament. And I wait to this day, and I'll say confidently that as much as they might have gone and edited themselves into the holy books, especially the Bible, it's not theirs. Originally, it's not theirs. Old Testament were Black people. All of them, from the beginning of the Genesis to the end of the Old Testament, all Black people. The new people start coming to the Black Israel in the New Testament. But before that, they were all Black men, women, children, all of them. Okay. If we look properly into, like you said before, of our own tradition and customs, we're able to see these things in our own life too. The female circumcision tradition, the fire ceremony, the human sacrifice, okay, the honoring the gods, but making sacrifice to the god before at the what do you call it, new moon and full moon season, right? The way that these guys would fight with spears, bow and arrow. These were housed. We're the only one fight like this. We're the only with these traditions. We're the traditions where you can marry more than one woman. These were housed. These are house stories, house histories. But because someone else went and re-edited, now they think that it's about them, and they put themselves in it. So we don't see the value of it, but they do, of our important history. And to this very day, they're still studying us, and they use our weapon onto us because we have not studied them. Why is it? What's wrong with? We have 54. No, sorry to get into politics, but 54 countries in Africa. Not one has done anything where they send spies to a different part of Europe country, send them spies to study the way of life and bring it back, and let's see how we can improve things in our own countries, whether it be Mozambique, whether it be Kenya, whether it be Ghana. Okay, we are not sending spies, but they're sending spies to all over Africa, but we're not. Okay, any of the spies can go and study religion, and go study space or astrobiology and astronomy, right? To do this, to some big change, right? So we are the one at fault, because we have such a great opportunity right now to make these things make sense of them, and to also prove that if God-man exists, okay, here's why, and I can explain. We have living at a great time to do such a detailed study of our own self and about them, like they've been doing with us in the past 100 years.
Yeah. Cool, bro. Yeah, man. Thanks heaps for that, man. Again, I guess our overall sort of topic to wrap up everything we've talked about today is the concept of God is a massive topic. It doesn't do justice for like 1 hour today. We have to come back for part 2. You got yourself a Quran, huh? Yeah, but there's a lot of wisdom in that, man. If you apply, our own thinking and understanding to it, man. I'm a student of it as well. So, what's that one?
Now, this one you probably never heard before. Sorry.
You know what you should get?
This is a new.
You know what you should get? Yeah? There's this one. There's a book called the Truth of God, right? And it's a Nation of Islam book. It's a scholar called Dr. Wesley.
I know who it is.
Dr. Wesley Muhammad, he wrote this. He's a scholar, and he goes into it's a historical study. It's a historical study. So he goes into the Greek, the Arab, man. He breaks it down hard. Yeah. I think it's a really cool, good book.
I think I'm already ahead of him. Because this book here, like you said, it breaks down, exposes a lot of history, Greek history, African history in Americas, Egypt history, Hebrew histories, It's all in this book, man. This book is a new genre, man.
What's it called?
It's after faith. Pardon?
I can't see it properly. It's a bit blurry. What's the title?
Okay. I'll send it to you. I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
It's called When Rock Cries Out. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll send you the link. And it exposed a lot, man. So much in that book. It helped shape my understanding of things that I know today. And the guy that actually wrote it, we became good friends the past couple of years. You know, just to email each other one another and thoughts. So I think it's the next level stuff, man. Pardon?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure, bro. Send me the link through, man, and things like that. I'm open.
I got copies of it, man.
I'm open to read
because I love it so much. So it breaks down so much.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
I'm open to read and everyone's perspective and things like that, and sort of do like analyze for myself and come up with my own sort of conclusions, etc. So but yeah, look, bro, that's I think that's the majority of it today. Again, what we really wanted to do today is dig into that like the topic of God and the understanding of it, and our unique position, as either Africans or however else you want to call ourselves, and like I said, it's such a big topic. There's so much that can be said about it all. Essentially, the last thing maybe if you can comment on is like we've talked about all this history, we've talked about all this, and a lot of these things are debatable, and there's people that can debate and go back and forth all day long. But fast forwarding to where we are now is, how can we, like I said, I think you already touched on it, but knowing, the history and some of these things, man, like what can we do now? Like, what would you give us advice and things like that to help? How can this help us with the everyday, and things of that nature? Did you want to give a minute or something and just conclude, I guess, your concluding words?
I'll conclude with a passage. I haven't opened my Bible, but it's in First Corinthians, verse 3 to 16, and it says about the kingdom of God is within you, right? And everyone trying to destroy the kingdom of God, you must destroy them too. What I love most about that is it's openly mentioned from what I find in the Bible probably 4 times, referring to the true God and where kingdom of God is lies within you, and everything you must do in the day that it's a reminder in the day that the real God is inside of you. The real God, it's a spirit. You can't see it, So we have to get to that understanding. We have to get to we have to spend time to get another word if we can, or get another histories if we can, to make a sense of these things. So because in the day, and like it's in the Bible, that you are what you're seeking, the God that you're seeking is within you. You have to listen to your intuition, listen to what your gut feeling says, because that is God speaking to you. I'm not saying that to you, it's that direct link. But are you allowing to speak to you directly? And that goes to everybody. It doesn't matter what religion you might be, because either way, Allah or God or Yahweh or the other names, it's the same person. But you are the main key role. You are the most important entity of all. And how do you change? How do you add into your life? Yes. For me, especially, I look at it this way. Having a ability now to kind of start the histories, I'm able to not go in the wrong direction as a youth and see that I gotta do these things, have responsibility as a man now. I gotta look after my family, I gotta make sure they're in check, I gotta look after myself, make sure that I'm, I have a good job security, These things will start aligning, like, okay, that's my path, that's my template now. I'm not gonna go wrong with that. I'm not gonna get sidetracked because I've already laid down the blueprint for myself. You know, I know what's out there. And the best part about love marriage is when you study this history, when I study the history in general, when you know about Carter, when you know about people in the past, you are able to really also study people of today. Because people of today don't know that they repeat the same that other people have already done in history. You know, you're able to understand someone else's issue or not, right? You're able to empathize with them or sympathize with them, you know what I mean? So to me, it comes in so well to being like, I guess, all around, like an all-rounder type, you know, to in a sense that you could grassroots your environment, you can scan your environment, you know, it's just like anthropologists, you know, pretty much that you also understand the human behaviors, how people behave. You can know that you can sense a bad energy or good energy, you know what I mean? So you know where to really be on the fence, be on the sideline, or when you could really enforce and speak or come forward. You know, it has given that opportunity, and I'm very happy with it, you know what I mean? Because now I can, I guess, be a much more better, improve myself, and a better human as well, because I can now have companionship. I now can, you know, be a more understanding, improve to be a better communicator, improve to be a better brother to all, you know, improve to be a better uncle, because through these things that I've seen and I've read about these men and what they've done in the past, or these women, what they've done in the past, good or bad, you know? So now I got to apply in my own life. And then most importantly, it gives you that strength to also love yourself, because now that I know about what my ancestors did, you know, I'm not mad at them, right? I'm not hating on them or speaking negative about them. You know what I mean? So I now can stand firm and defend them. When people there, the environment we are, where everyone respect Black people, you know, where everyone don't like us, they don't know why they don't like us, right? Or spit on us. I can defend myself because I know now that, hey man, that's BS, you know. So it's the best thing ever. No regrets at all. No regrets at all.
For sure, man.
Because,
for sure, bro. For
Correct.
sure, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, just to conclude, man. You know, one of my favorite lines when you talk about like Bible is you know, the one where it says that, you know, ye are all God's children of the Most High, and I take that quite personal. Like that's my when, you know, like when I talk about what my capacity is, like if as a human being where I can now grow to, that's where that's the ceiling for me. So that's how I use that psychologically to help me, you know, if I'm lacking in the area, and then I think, well, look, I should be receptive of the highest ideals, the highest, you know, and things like that. So that's how I try and use scripture and things like that to help my own psychology and things like my own mental space and etc. So, but yo, bro, I appreciate it, man. Like, I think it's a good discussion, man. And like I said, we can talk for hours and hours on this stuff, you know, back and forth. You know, this is a whole lot to it. But you know, thanks heaps for coming on board and chatting with me and us. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. I'm just gonna stop recording, but just stay on today.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, thanks for that, man. I just want to say I appreciate having this and allow it to, because I love it. These kind of things, I just wish it continued to happen, because it also allowed me to really, again, you know, for a long period of time, and in the beginning, it was a rough road, because I felt there's no one to share these things to, the things I was curious about to know, the things I was questioning. You know, my reason to be here, and why am I bothering myself, you know, putting the work to study these things, and, you know, looking at all these, the Egyptian hieroglyphs, and looking at the Greeks potteries and all these styles is like, you know, but having these kind of discussion, it would allow, and, you know, again, it gives me the space to come and talk about it, and that way I don't also forget. So, you know, it helped me to think and to let it out that it's needed, you know, and it reminds me. So while it's coming to be a busy weekend, the holiday season again. You know, my best wishes to you and your family. You gotta stay well. You know, call them, of course, but also the honoring. And I always love to honor and pay my homage respect to the Prophet himself, the Black Messiah, Yeshua or Joshua. You know. He's man. He changed our world, you know, in the little time that he had, and every that comes, man. I like to show my respect, and hopefully everybody really get to not not to, I wouldn't say get to know him, but I think more to get to know his true story. But if that happened, then, the church don't get the money. So, yeah. But
For sure.
we enjoy your Christmas spirit, man. Appreciate it. Again, may the answers be with you, to help you guide through